There's pictures of Myron in bed with white men. Ain't that right, Myron?
Those are my teammates from college.
Right. We different, Myron. We way different. I'm not in bed with white people. There's pictures of Myron in bed. Myron's in bed with white men.
You never wait a minute now, Tariq. You ain't gonna just stick that out there. What did you just say?
Brother.
No, you know what? Hold on. You know what's funny?
Ain't no pictures of me laying up with white people.
No,
Ain't no pictures of me in bed with white people. Myron is a Sudanese Arab.
Bro, I'm blacker than your wife, bro. Come on, man.
Look at him.
I'm blacker than your
Lord,
wife,
no.
Tariq.
Man, look at his fist.
No,
Yeah,
you're not.
He don't have no white woman. He don't have no white people at his
Myron,
Thanksgiving dinner.
I'm more foundationally black than her, bro.
Myron is a coon. Well, you're a wannabe, Myron, and Sneako, he's a mutt. I don't know what Sneako is, but Sneako, I know a good dentist that can help you get that tooth fixed down in Colombia. Dr. Montoya, I can give you a card on him. Our FBA brother knocked your tooth out and you ran to the police like a bitch, and I can get you a good tampon too, because the bitch came right on out of you. Jake Shields with you. Doesn't he do MMA? He's supposed to whoop all this ass, and he stood there looking like Whitney Houston in The Bodyguard while you got your ass whooped.
The guy ran away, like he fell down. Nobody knew I got hit. Like, it wasn't pretty obvious. Jake Shields didn't see it. If it was under different circumstances.
Jake saw it. Jake was standing there. I saw the video. Jake stood there with his titties flopping. He was standing there not doing anything.
Speaking in an intellectual
You're
way,
just babbling
but you
like
say
a
nothing that's intellectual.
You're babbling
that's
like
literally
a
what you do. You cannot portray yourself as an
babbling
intellectual
like
and not bring up
a
Hold on one sec.
Calm
So,
down.
you know, I was, I kind of wanted to hear what Tariq would come in and talk about.
Is that Myron? Is that Myron?
Yeah, it is. And it's interesting.
Myron, hold on. Before you start, I got to say,
wow.
I know we've had our words. We've had our words and we've had our differences. All right. And I'm willing to go on your show. I know you wanted me to go on your show at one point. And we can put our differences aside. And I offer my extension to prayer. And I pray now. All right. There you go.
All right.
What a fucking lame.
You know what's interesting? Like, this is what I found very interesting. I kind of wanted to see what you would come in and talk about.
Womp womp.
Right. And
all right, go ahead, Myron. All right, let's hear from Sudanese Myron. Go ahead.
Can I talk now?
Go ahead, Myron.
Yeah, so I was intrigued to see what you were going to come in and talk about. I was actually legitimately open ears, like, okay, I wonder what he's going to talk about. And I find it very interesting that we were not talking about an iota of race, whether it was black, white, Jewish, anything.
All of your platforms are about anti-black.
Look, let me finish my point. Now, we were not talking about race whatsoever, and I find it interesting. The first words out your mouth are white supremacy as soon as you come in here.
Yeah, you're a wannabe, right?
And again, Tariq, I got a legitimately serious question for you. If you
go
didn't
ahead
talk
and ask
about
that
race,
question,
if you didn't talk about race, what would you talk about?
Sir,
sucking dick.
Like, what would you legitimately talk about, bro? What would you talk about if you didn't talk about race all day?
Sir, I talk about a whole bunch of stuff without talking about race, but I talk about racism because it's the most important thing that you white supremacists want to be.
What is it? What is it that you talk about without that's not about race?
I started my career with relationship books, and they were all bestsellers, sir. I can talk about
and you don't
so
talk
many
about
other
it anymore.
things.
Interesting enough.
But race is a very serious problem, especially anti-black racism. So I discussed something that's very important. Yes, anti-black racism is a very big problem. That's why you got platforms.
And they're laughing, but this is it's a true issue. In fact, my previous videos, you guys have seen the situation that happened in Canada. I mean, not Canada, excuse me, in Nevada. The situation that happened in Nevada, you guys all seen it. And there's another video that I'm actually going to be making soon that's about colorism, right? Both here in the U.S. and abroad. That kind of reflects the reality of how racism continues to impact people of, the African-American race and the diaspora, all people of color. And I think it's something that needs to be spoken about, So it'll be a video that I'll be releasing soon that will be addressing how, and offer contextual reasons as to why some of these issues may be going on, like how the black experience is when you're abroad, whether it's, you're out in Japan, China, Australia, and even here, how some of these issues have perpetuated, how some of these issues have perpetuated the idea of colorism in the United States, even amongst African Americans. So I don't understand why they're laughing, trying to brush it off as if that's not a serious problem or a serious topic.
That's not
That's
race.
the only reason you guys
And you
got
bring it back to
platforms
race.
because
I
you
asked
have
you what you could talk
anti-black
about besides race,
platforms.
and you bring it back to race.
Because you're anti-black platforms. That's all you do is
No,
discuss
I'm not
race. That's the only
anti-black.
yes, you
I'm not
are.
anti-black. I'm
That's the
anti-retard. I'm
only reason you have a
anti-retard.
platform.
And you're behaving like one.
Sir, please,
I'm
you're the
asking,
one.
what do you talk about besides race?
What do you do besides flee your homeland?
Okay, good one. I'm asking you a legitimate question, Tariq.
And that's
What do
a
you talk about
legitimate
besides
question.
race?
That's a projection. Your platforms are based on anti-black racism, Myron.
No, we talk about a bunch of things. Race
No,
is
you
just one of
don't.
the
It
things we talk
always
about.
goes back to anti-black
Versus all you
racism.
talk about is race.
And
I'm asking you a legit question.
then you have a bunch of women on there who are black and Caribbean, and you scream and
They're
bark on
also
them like
white,
a coward.
Asian,
Why don't you
Hispanic,
do that shit to a dude, man?
white.
Why don't you bark on a
White,
dude like that?
white, Asian,
You know what I'm
Hispanic.
saying?
Come down
Why
to
don't
Miami.
you do all that shit to dudes?
White, Asian, Hispanic. We've had them with all
You
kinds of
understand?
races, not
You
just
know,
black.
you don't do it to dudes because you'll get that
Oh,
Sneako
now you're
energy. You saw what
deflecting.
happened to Sneako.
See how I
You
refute
saw
what
what
you
happened
say?
to Sneako
I
when y'all
refute
run
what
up
you
on a
say.
dude with that shit.
I refute what you say, and then you immediately come in and try
because
to say
you
something
bark
else.
on women, you bark on
Here we
black
go.
women all the time.
Bro said he got the academic vibe, bro. That's crazy. Nah, but for real though, the way he treats some of these women on his platform is degrading. Like I don't even understand why some of them go on there. Like I feel as though there's sometimes in certain situations with certain women where you have to be truthful and you have to, be real in how you approach them, But the way he goes about it is like it's almost like a guy who thinks he's smarter than everybody in the room, and so he tries to impose himself on everybody, right? And the minute he's challenged, his ego becomes fractured, and therefore he reacts violently, right? And in this case, because he cannot hurt women, right? He cannot physically hurt them. He does so verbally, right? So now he's sitting there attacking them and yelling and making them feel like, calling them bimbos and retards and whores and all these other kind of messed up words. And this is what Tariq is saying. Like, you wouldn't speak to another man like that face to face because there'd be consequences. But because they're women, you feel like you have the right to just go on and just attack and attack and attack. And when he does speak about, like, for instance, black men, he does so just like through tweets and stuff, right? Or he do so not in the presence of actual people who are passionate about the black community, right? Like the other interview, which was a reaction to this interview, which we could check out later. He has his co-worker, there's some black dude who's sitting there who's just like laughing along with him, and like he's not even wise enough to see the problems that are being discussed and how he should react as somebody who, if he was truly connected to the black community, seeing another fellow guy sit there and just mock his community or whatnot. But perhaps it's because Myron, excuse me, perhaps Myron is just signing his check, so he doesn't have the backbone to speak up, So I don't know what the relationship is like, but I know in certain situations like that, some people don't react because they're afraid to speak out, right? Or to challenge a person out of fear of losing their friendship or their check or whatever, employment and so forth.
Because you're a coward. You're a coward and a wannabe, okay?
So what's your argument now?
That's
because
the argument is you're a coward and a
race?
wannabe, all right?
Okay, yep.
You're a wannabe white supremacist and you're a coward.
You don't put your foot down with women. What you don't talk sternly with women.
And all you guys have platforms built on anti-black racism.
Like, you don't talk sternly to women at all.
You talk that shit online.
You don't talk sternly to women.
You talk that shit online, and
you let women talk to you.
Tariq, thank you for coming in here and showing how low IQ the reparations movement is. Thank you for coming in here and fucking exposing your dumbass.
All right, you're a bunch of geniuses.
No, you definitely.
You're showing us the high
IQ.
All right.
You're definitely an elite.
Tariq. No, guys,
we
I
can
asked
look
him a legitimate question, and you guys see how he just immediately deflected?
We can look at your high.
Just deflected everything.
This is high IQ conversation from you guys? Really?
Oh, you started talking about
racism is not high IQ. Stop.
You guys are talking like you're Rhodes scholars. You're a bunch of YouTube flunkies. Bro,
you're talking like you're
not a Rhodes scholar. You're a bunch of YouTube flunkies.
You do not. All right? You do not. You have no
your only platform.
Bro called them a YouTube flunky. Yo, but it's true. Like, some of these people do exist. Like, I remember at a place that I was working at, or one of my previous places of employment, I had another African American brother, right, braids and all. Like, he had a few issues, but bro sat there and made the argument that slavery was not real. It's not possible. You cannot fit 3,000 people on the boat. You cannot fit 3,000 people on the boat and then have him travel over here under those conditions and think they're gonna make it. Slavery did not happen. It never happened. I'm like, and I'm sitting there confused, right? I'm like, there's no possible way you can be this dumb. Like, I'm sorry, like, you know. And then he goes on to say he dropped out of high school and he doesn't read. And I'm like, well, brother, or how else are you gonna acquire knowledge? Like what? Through like you just spend your time watching YouTube videos and that's how you learn? You gotta read. How do you know what you're reading is true? Like, it was the most asinine conversation I ever had. And I almost felt ashamed for the fact that he even drew me into it emotionally out of frustration at the stupidity that I was hearing. So this is the same kind of thing. You have these guys who think they're so smart, right? They overtalk people and they find a couple of people who they can intimidate, right? Perhaps by using a couple of big words and, you know, and now they think that there's some self-professed geniuses or something like that. It's absolutely absurd, man. And I'm glad Tariq is checking him in on it because nobody got time for that shit. Like,
you can only come up by spewing anti-black racism. You're not intellectuals at all. Let's stop it. All right.
You want to hear why anti-black racism exists? Is because of you.
You're a bunch of Anglo.
You're the reason that black people are held back in America because you hold on to victim mentality without anything else.
You failed, and all of you failed in your homelands. All of you, and you want to be white supremacists, and that's the only platforming you can do is spewing.
You do realize that there's like FBAs in here, right?
You get knocked in your damn teeth. You got knocked in your teeth for doing that shit in person. You're a bunch of losers.
Dude, this guy talks like from the coast of California because he is. This is exactly how people from the coast of California talk because they don't have other people calling them out for the dumb shit they say, and this guy's doing exactly that. I'm from the coast of California, so I know exactly how these fucking people are.
And you smell like a wet dog. Now shut up.
Are you speaking for the whole?
No,
are you speaking for the black
community? That's your claim to fame. What shit is that? What kind of weird? You guys are weirdos. What kind of stuff is that?
Are you speaking for the whole black community?
I'm talking about you guys.
Yo, he definitely isn't. He definitely isn't.
The wannabe white supremacist community. You're going around.
Wait, but who are you? Who are you?
Do you understand how stupid you are? You're calling a Jewish man a white supremacist. You fucking moron.
Wannabe Anglo.
And you were raised by a single mother. That's very fucking clear.
You were raised by.
Where's your father? Do you even know your father's name?
You were raised by a fat honey.
Yeah, you don't know your father's name. That's why you fucking are with the piece of garbage.
Oh man, these are the classics anti-black arguments and shit like that. They're always sitting there, oh, where's your father? Oh, where's that milk? You know, whenever they lose an argument or feel emotionally wounded, that's what it comes down to, racial attacks, right? Racial attacks. Like it's so moronic, right? That at the same time, it's just laughable. Like, just seeing them lose their shit. And I applaud Tariq for just keeping his cool, calm, and, like, just remaining composed. Like, he's cool, calm, and composed. Composure. Composure, lads. Composure. All right? That's how you got to deal with people like this. Because you don't want them to get you out your element and you start yelling and all, like, they're a bunch of idiots. Right? And Tariq has the maturity. Like, he has the maturity to know that. And so he's not engaging them on the same level, and it's just breaking them, and I'm loving it, man.
You are right now.
These old 4chan tropes don't work.
It's some dry cereal growing up. Your cereal.
What's your daddy's name for $100, Tariq? What's your daddy's name for $200, Tariq? Exactly, you fucking beta bitch.
Okay, so guys, he clearly came in here to talk to me. So, Tariq.
All right. Any more corny jokes?
He only came in here to talk to me.
You want to be white
go ahead and have a discussion.
So not witty.
Tariq, let's go ahead and have a discussion. I asked you a very simple question.
Right.
I didn't resort.
Myron, I answered.
No.
Sir.
Okay.
Myron,
I didn't resort to insulting you or doing ad hominems. I asked a legitimate question.
And I answered.
If you didn't, okay, and you said you wrote books about relationships.
Right.
So
Myron,
why do you not do that anymore? Why do you only talk about race now?
That's not all I talk about, Myron. I have a hot movie out right now about hip hop. I talk about a lot of stuff, sir. I just don't talk about race. But I'm going to talk about you anti-black racists who are always spewing anti-black racism. Yes, I will check you on that.
No. I spew anti-stupidity. That's what I
No.
spew.
You are an
Anti-stupidity.
anti-black
It just
racist.
so happens that a lot of black people are stupid.
Well,
That's
sir,
what I spew.
if we're so damn stupid, you're the one who fled from your damn homeland. So
No.
we're
I
not
said
that
a lot of
stupid.
them are stupid. It could
All
be
right.
white,
Well,
black,
you
Hispanic. It
come from
doesn't matter.
stupidity.
So a lot of them. Now you're saying a majority of people are stupid. Like, how can you even speak like that and think that that's okay? Like, these guys are so deluded, bro. Like, on God, like, they're just so slow that they think they're so used to just being right that they could sit out here and make these statements, right, and think that it's okay because their core audience are people who stroke their egos, right, and right push them forward and encourage them and sit there and agree with them that they think they can make these things. You go into any establishment, right, as a professional, and then sit there and say stuff like this and see if you don't get challenged and see if people aren't concerned as to whether or not you're a racist. Like, you're belligerent, you're disrespectful and disgusting as a human being by sitting there and just generalizing an entire group of people like that. That's not okay. But yet this guy over here, self-proclaimed genius, seems to think he's right. It's so I don't even have the words.
All
Stupid enough
people
to
are
not have to
stupid.
flee.
All people are stupid. See how
We're
you're going to
stupid
an ad
enough.
hominem?
You can't say
See
that
how
we're
you're going to an ad
stupid.
hominem that has nothing
No.
to
That's
do
not
with
an ad
the
hominem,
debate? That
sir.
has nothing to do with the debate.
Yes, it does, because
No,
you
it does
can't.
not.
You're not qualified
No,
to
it does
say
not.
anybody's stupid, and you fled from a failed
Oh,
homeland.
okay. So
You're not
so if
qualified.
someone's an immigrant, they're not qualified to comment on
No,
social
you're not.
issues.
If you come from a homeland where everybody's over there starving, you can't say none of us are stupid. You're not at
Okay.
liberty to do that. Okay.
So hold on. So let me just get this straight.
Let's get it straight.
Are you telling me that
Yeah.
if you're an immigrant, you cannot comment on
From the
other
Sudan, yeah.
situations?
If you're from you're from the Sudan, you can't say shit about a foundational Black American. Nothing at
Interesting.
all. Nothing.
Let
Yeah.
me
Nothing.
with
You can't
Tariq.
say
So
nothing about
let's
us.
use your
Not
logic
one
then.
word.
And the reality of it is, right, and I'm glad he's saying that because we're both struggling with the same issues. Okay, the Sudan has been colonized, right? The same way African Americans have been enslaved here in the U.S. We all have similar struggles, right? So for him to sit there and having escaped the Sudan, right? Because we seen what's going on in the Sudan with the civil war, the starvation, etc. And even if you look into the history, post colonial times, their whole reason they have a whole civil war back in the Sudan is also in part due to certain relationships with European nations, right? And then the whole Christian versus Muslim and all that extra stuff, like it's embedded in the history of the Sudan. So this guy escapes the Sudan, comes over here to the US, is able to find a better life, has the nerves to turn around and then blame other people who are having a similar struggle to the same people that he's from, right? He comes over here, he sees others of a similar skin tone, of a similar history, as his people back in the Sudan, and has the nerves to point at them and say, you guys are lazy, or you guys are stupid, you guys are this. Meanwhile, his people back home in the Sudan are also struggling with similar issues. And that's the point that Tariq is trying to say. You come on. It's so ridiculous, the rhetoric this idiot be saying, man. I'm so glad he's getting checked.
Use your logic.
A failed homeland where people are starving. You can't say shit about us. Yes.
Cool. Then let's use your logic then.
That's how
Tariq,
that
let me
works.
ask you a question. Do you have to be a mathematician to say 1 + 1 is 2?
No, sir. No. That's a non sequitur. It has nothing to do with anything. You come from a failed homeland where people are over there starving, and you haven't figured out how to stop the people from starving. So you can't come over here and talk about intelligence.
Here we go.
Thank you to the white supremacists in America. You're eating, Tariq.
How so, sir?
Because the white people started this country. The white supremacists started this country.
Go back.
Exactly.
Let me take this because
they didn't. They failed when they tried to do it on their own. They didn't start a damn thing. It was foundational Black Americans. Go ahead, sir.
Tariq, let me again. So you're telling me if someone's an immigrant from Sudan or wherever they're from, they can't comment on social issues?
Not over here. No, you're not at liberty to do that because your social issues are in shambles.
And I think what's really going on here is that Tariq is taking that pass away. Now, obviously, they are allowed to comment, but you cannot come over here and comment on it negatively, right? And then put this negative a cloud on your own people who are from here as well, right? We share a similar skin color. We're one people, right? You can't do that. You're a sellout. You're a sellout. It's as simple as that. If you come here and you start disrespecting your own people, now there are times when you can hold them accountable, right? You can hold the African American community accountable. You could criticize certain things, yes. But when you do it with overwhelming nefarious reasons, right? And you're doing it because you just straight up hating. You have no understanding, no care to understand. You're just a critic and you're just shaming them, not taking the time to understand how this struggle is. Because see, me, I understand both sides, right? I was born in Africa, but I grew up here, right? I came when I was super small, like 7, 8 years old. I grew up here. I grew up in a bad neighborhood, was involved in all types of nonsense and stuff like that, but I grew out of it eventually, right? I've lost people. I've seen people get shot. I've, like, friends in jail, this and the third. I used to get in trouble as well, get arrested and all that shit. Like, I was involved in this shit, right? And I made it out, and I'm glad I made it out, right? And so I understand both worlds. And so when you have idiots like this guy, you see, and since that's the case, he could have had that similar experience, this Myron dude, right? But I don't know what his experience was like here. So maybe that's why he didn't understand or whatever. But it doesn't take a genius. It doesn't even take somebody who lives in that environment to understand. All it takes is somebody who's wise, who could look, pay attention, and see what's going on. But me, I had firsthand experience, right? So I seen a lot of stuff growing up in the hood. And so I have, a unique perspective to where I could bridge the gap and help each side understand each other versus trying to divide, you know what I mean? And African Americans disrespecting Africans or Africans disrespecting African Americans. And a lot of the times you have these, the white power structure, right? You have a bunch of white supremacists, whether they're professors and I've seen it even in the education system, where they continue to push that divide between us, with a bunch of, detrimental narratives, which they don't associate to other people when other people have committed the same type of actions, right? They don't do that. But when it comes to us, it's like, oh yeah, let's get them to point fingers. And this is why I say this guy Myron is a clown, right? He's a clown. He's an absolute clown. Rather than understanding that we're both having a similar struggle and how we can unite and develop a collective plan, right, that will help us both survive and thrive and rebuild ourselves as a people. No, he's over here clowning and promoting hate and anti-blackness, which is why I really respect what Tariq is doing and saying. Like, this dude is just ridiculous, man.
You're not at liberty.
Cool.
Why?
So again, you are at liberty, but you can't be out here just trying to hate on your people and think that's okay. Like, that's bullshit.
So
why would we listen to you? Why would we listen to you? Okay. If you come from a country of complete failure,
now let me ask you another question.
Why would we listen to you?
So
you're not at liberty.
So let me get this straight then. So only other FBAs, according to your logic, can comment on FBA issues. Is that
absolutely
what you're saying?
Only foundational Black Americans can talk about our issues. We don't concern ourselves with what's going on with you. You come from a failed culture. You're not at liberty to give us any advice on anything, sir.
Would you call it a successful culture of foundational Black Americans
You need to fix what's going on over there in your homeland.
Again, hold on.
Culture?
Everybody, guys, he came in here.
You need to fix your homeland.
When your ancestors got taken into slavery and taken to another country, do you consider that a successful culture? Because you're saying Sudan is not successful.
Right.
So would you consider where your ancestors were originally taken from as successful?
Half of our ancestors were already here. Let's get that straight. We're foundational Black Americans, sir. There were Black people here. There were Black people brought over here. So we had an ethnogenesis, and we never fled from the country we built,
Won't
sir.
answer the question, of course, again.
I did answer the question, sir. If you're not smart enough with them stingy Irish genes of yours, that's your problem.
Irish.
Sir.
Yeah, my name is Amir, bro. I'm definitely Irish, dude.
Okay.
So let me ask you this question, Tariq. By your logic, right? Because you're saying only foundational Black Americans can criticize other foundational Black Americans. So if that's the case, why are you talking shit about white people and white supremacists? Since you're not white, you can't give an opinion.
But I'm a victim of white supremacy. I can talk about the
see how it doesn't work out? Doesn't make sense, does it?
Because we're being victimized by the white supremacists. So I can talk about
how are you being victimized by the white supremacists?
Because they've created a system of white supremacy that they've militarized, and we can't break out of it.
The fact that he even has to ask this question shows just how convoluted this guy really is. And it's so painful to hear this guy speak, man. I swear to God. I'm so glad Tariq is giving him the business, because we got to pack him up.
Because they have a military stronghold over us, sir. And you too.
Okay, tell me in 2024 how the white supremacists are holding you back militarily.
They control all areas of activity and they dominate all areas. And when we start building on our own, they use their military to destroy it all across the board. Whenever we build prosperous neighborhoods, they use their military to destroy it. And they've done this all across the board. They control the educational system. When we try to get our own educational system, they use their militarized system to destroy it. They destroy it all across the board. And these are facts, sir. We're under.
And if you guys want to check out more about that, like what he just says, the 5 areas of activities that they control, which is religion, politics, education, economics, and what was the 5th? Oh man, I forgot the 5th. I think it's entertainment. I think the 5th is entertainment. And if you guys want to find out more about that stuff, man, check out Neil Fuller. If you just look it up, he has a book out. And it's NEELFULLER. He also has, there's a bunch of people that have replicated his books into like little animations and stuff. And he's a good dude to like read on and watch some of his speeches. All these animated, like little skits are made, but they contain his voice, like he's giving speeches and stuff like that. Very informative. And so I think that's where Tariq Nasheed is quoting that from.
A global system of white supremacy.
Okay.
Tulsa, Oklahoma was 100 years ago, bro.
Hold on. So let me ask you this then.
They build freeways and train tracks in black neighborhoods that's prosperous even today. I live in Los Angeles. Crenshaw Boulevard, they're destroying the black businesses by building a train system down Crenshaw Boulevard. They do this stuff now. We
and who controls Los Angeles? Who are the elected politicians in Los Angeles?
So you're telling me
we get sabotaged. And the great thing about us, even though we get sabotaged, we can still rebuild and we can still find success. They sabotage you wannabes too.
Politicians in Los Angeles that you're talking about this being destroyed.
Yo, Jacob, mute everybody except for me and Tariq, bro. Everybody else, shut the fuck up. All right, he didn't come in to talk to y'all niggas, so he's coming in here to talk to me. So that's fine.
Let's get it.
And then listen to how he even speaks to his friends, right? These are people who are trying to like stand alongside him. The arrogance, right? To sit there and embarrass your friends like that, your colleagues. It's like, what? The narcissism is beyond me, man. I mean, you can talk to me like that. I don't know what he's on.
Discussion, Tariq. So let's have a discussion because I've been waiting.
And you know what else it is? Is he's like the self-professed intellect amongst them, and they follow his lead. So that's why he feels he can speak like that to them, because he feels he's the one who could best challenge Tariq.
Long time to talk to you because you are literally the lord of victimhood. So let's go ahead and have a discussion.
And you are the lord of victimization, sir. But go ahead.
Okay, sure.
A wannabe.
Well,
what you're a wannabe. You're not
right?
even a real white supremacist. You're a wannabe. But go ahead, Myron.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Anyway, so you're claiming that the white supremacists control the military, which is holding back the blacks in America. Okay, do you believe that's still the case in 2020?
Right now, this very minute.
Really?
Holding back, and when I mean holding back, they keep an oppressive system that will dominate and control what we do. Even though there's still black people who are successful. Hell, I'm a millionaire. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm still under a system of
You ain't no billionaire, you lying ass motherfucker.
He said he's a millionaire.
I didn't say billionaire. I said a millionaire. And that's verified. Y'all can verify.
My bad.
That's easily verified. But that doesn't mean anything.
So Tariq, if you were able to do it and you're black, why can't others?
Because we're phenomenal as black people. Foundational black Americans are absolutely phenomenal. That's why we can do it.
Okay, so why can't others do it then? If they're being held down like you claim, why can't they do it? You did it. You did it, right?
Everybody can't do it in a system of white supremacy. Everybody's not going to be able to do it. I was able to do it because I understood the system and I kind of worked around it. But I called the system out. But I would have been much richer without the system of white supremacy. We live in a global system of white supremacy.
Okay, so it's interesting because
Now, is that true or not true, Myron? I mean, shit. Am I making this up?
No.
Then why did they say that? Then why did they say it? This is their words. The white supremacists said this. This is them saying.
I've let you speak, but you don't let me speak.
I'm not cutting you off. This is a dialogue.
No, you have.
We're having a conversation. So I'm asking you.
No, we are. But a part of a conversation is you got to let the other person
and you're going to have
speak
to let me speak.
I
just answered your question. I'm asking you something.
I've let you speak plenty of times. All right, I'll let you finish your thought. Go ahead.
So Myron, is that true or not true? Do we live in a system of white supremacy or not?
Do we?
There is nothing holding back black people from success.
Do we live in a system of white supremacy or not? Then why did the white supremacists say that they have a system of white supremacy? This is their words. They said this. They put this in law.
They can say whatever they want, Tariq. It's up to you on how you're going to go ahead and make a do of it. There's nothing holding back black people from becoming successful. As a matter of fact, why is it that we had stronger black households during the Jim Crow eras when black people were the most oppressed that they've ever been? We had higher rates of education. We had two-parent households. We had successful black families. We had more black businesses. Why is it that when we were the most oppressed, as you would claim, we actually had the best statistics, but now that we have the most freedom, we're the worst off? I'll tell you why. It's because of bad decisions. It's not a system of white supremacy as you claim. Hold on. Let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. Because that's great, bro. Because you guys like to blame the police.
This guy, Myron, is such a fucking idiot, man. This guy is such a fucking idiot. Right after, right? And I'm not sure if Tariq is going to mention this, right? Right after that, as soon as, the Civil Rights Act were passed, integration was implemented, bro, the government initially took a step right after that, right? That they had to make sure. They had to make sure that they contained the African-American community. So then you had issues like redlining, right? Where they wanted to divide the map a certain way to where African-Americans were cornered and put on the outskirts where they would stay on their own. Then, they say owning a house is pivotal in building one's wealth, right? Of course, you have businesses too, but it's really important to own a house. So not only that, when African Americans wanted to purchase homes, they were being discriminated against, right? Being offered, so you could have an African American and you could have a person of European ancestry. They both apply for a loan, right? They both have the same credit, same everything. The white person who applies for the loan will be given the loan at a much lower interest rate compared to African American, which then makes it even difficult to get the house. You understand what I'm saying? They were being denied loans as well. Then you had the prison industrial complex, mass incarceration. Like, this idiot does not read. He does not care enough to even, he just has his judgment set and he just blames and blames. He's no different than the white supremacist, which is what Tariq is saying, because they don't take the time out to understand why it is that these issues are prevalent, right? Why is it that, African Americans, not to mention the funding, right? Schools in the neighborhoods, their funding is based on tax dollars, right? The schools are based on the tax revenue in the fucking neighborhoods. So if you have a poor neighborhood, they're not going to have a lot of taxes because there's lower income coming from this neighborhood, which then does not get essentially like funded into the school as it should. Meanwhile, when you have rich neighborhoods, right, higher income, higher taxes are able to be allocated to these schools, right, that are in rich neighborhoods. What does that do? That produces a higher level of education for the people in the white neighborhoods versus a lower level of education for the people in the black neighborhoods. For God's sake, if you look at the schools, you have overcrowding in the black neighborhoods. You have poor materials, lack of textbooks, just all kind of problems. Not to mention the distraction of gang violence, right? Lower income means food insecurities. Like, he's just talking out of his ass. And for the issue with the mass incarceration, right? We could even touch down on impartiality when it came to sentencing. We had sentencing laws, right? Which affected African Americans differently than it affected white Americans. You had the, how crack rock was being, if you had just a little bit of crack on you, you were just given a minimum of several amount of years, right? If you compare that to, you needed 100 grams of cocaine to match up to a gram of crack. That would give you the same sentencing. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so with crack, a lot of people who were doing crack were people who were impoverished, yet they were being given harsher sentences, right? And even then, if you look at because I've written papers about this. If you look at the approach that we now have towards drug addiction with opioids, which primarily affect people of white ancestry, of European ancestry, right? That's where the opioid crisis is most prevalent at, right? And so now the government's approach towards dealing with this drug epidemic, right, is treatment. It's treatment, man. They're focusing on treatment centers, as opposed to in the past, it was more focusing on, locking people up, whether you were a user, whether you were a drug addict, whether you used to push the stuff, like, you're getting locked up, right? We don't care if you're addicted to it. We catch you with it, it's, you know what I mean? Versus now where it's like, okay, you get caught with it, it's a problem. But if we catch you selling it, oh, then you're really in trouble. So during the 80s, right? Early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, the prison population was about 330,000. About 20 years later, it had rose up all the way to the 2 millions, with the majority of them being black people, right? People in impoverished neighborhoods, African Americans. So the fact that he doesn't even consider any of this stuff, this is what he's trying to, Tariq is telling him, you're a pseudo-intellect, man. You only seem smart around these little people around you who don't know shit themselves that you can sit there and raise your voice at and speak a bunch of nonsense, bro. But there are people out here who are qualified who can sit you down and have a conversation with you and embarrass you because you don't have the facts. You do not have the facts. And for you guys who want to read and research up on some of this stuff, you can read a book by Michelle Alexander called The New Jim Crow, and it will show you. She was an attorney, and she herself was concerned about some of these things going on, though she wasn't too sure until she started doing her research on it and found out, like, wow, the government has played a role in the destruction of, the Black American family and overpopulating prison with the mass incarceration. Not to mention this whole private prison thing that's going. Like, it's anyway. Now I'm going off on it right. No, because I'm passionate too, man. Like I'm passionate about the Black American community. Like it's my community, man. And I've studied a lot, and I've seen firsthand, even in classes, in my, when I was doing my speeches and stuff like that in college classes. Like I would, if I'm against or if I'm conversing with the professor and I see him kind of speaking down on our community, I always rose up. I always stood up and corrected them or even checked them. So I'm really passionate about this stuff, bro. So to see this clown sit up here and, have a bunch of idiotic followers who constantly flaring him up and, stroking his ego, it's really frustrating, man. Because some of those people aren't even people of our community. Like, it's a bunch of racists or it's a bunch of idiots who don't even know no better.
You guys like to blame the government. You like to blame everybody else except for people making bad decisions. Explain to me this as well. You sit there and say, oh, you're not a foundationally Black American, whatever. Okay, Tariq, let's say that I'm not a foundationally Black American. Me and you get pulled over by the police. Do you think the police that are racist, by the way, and led by white supremacists, do you think they give a fuck that I'm from Sudan and that you're a foundationally Black American? No, we're both niggas to them. Because my hair's wavy, your hair might be a little bit wavier, but they're...
So then why do you not feel offended when your friend Jacosta is over there throwing the N-word left and right? If that's really how you felt, how can you not feel offended when somebody's speaking like that?